It is glad to see you all here. Okay, can I get a quick introduction of a few people? What do you do? Um, what do you expect from this workshop? Shrishti, Megha, anyone? You can raise your hands. Ragul, Dhruv, Gaurav, Shrikant, Vanshika. Are you an advocate? Are you a student? Are you practicing, preparing for any exam? Lakshita, Shrikant, Vanshika.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Hi, Vanshika. Can you please introduce yourself? What are you doing currently? What do you expect out of this workshop?
Okay, ma'am. My name is Vanshika Yadav. I am pursuing BBLLB in 7th SEM.
Okay, okay, all right. Anyone else? Dhruv, Apurva, Padmini, Mandar, Gaurav, Anmol, Shrishti. Please step up. Let's make this an interactive session. Uh, our speaker of the day has also joined. Let's just wrap up this quick intro session and then begin with the webinar. Mandar says he's an LLM student. Raghul is a final lawyer student from Tamil Nadu. Okay, and he's enrolled in our advanced legal drafting course. Hi, Raghul. Ashwant is a law student from Chennai, Tamil Nadu. He's in his final BCom LLB honors. All right, he will be in his next semester having the tax law, so he's interested. Great. Okay. A few students are also joining. Okay, so we welcome Tamanna ma'am. We have with us Tamanna Bansal. She is a legal associate with Center of WTO Studies, Ministry of Commerce and Industry. She has a great knowledge on tax GST matters. Ma'am, we are very glad to have you on board with us. Thank you so much for taking out time and having the session with us. You can unmute yourself, and the stage is all yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Akhya, for introducing me. I welcome you all in this session that is on GST reforms. And let us make this session very interactful. If you have any questions in between, you can ask, unmute yourself and ask your question in between itself. You can interrupt. And moreover, I like you can, in case you want to switch on your cameras, please switch on. It's not a mandatory thing. It's up to you. But I would recommend to make the session interacting, it should be on a switch on mode. Moreover, firstly, let me introduce myself. I'm Tamanna Bansal. I have done my LLM from National Law University, Odisha, and right now I'm doing my PhD from Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law from Patiala. And moreover, I am associated with Center for WTO Studies, that is under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, where we do legal drafting of the trade policies of India with the other countries, and we do negotiation rounds, like for example right now the negotiations of European Union and the US with the US and Peru and Chile is going on the trade policies. So this is my brief introduction. Now moving on to the topic, I would like to share a PPT with you all to make the session more interactful. Just give me a second. Mhm. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So starting on with the topic, that is the GST 2.0, explain reforms, realities, and career opportunities. So anyone over here can please tell me what is GST? If anybody knows about it, little bit of it, have any idea about it? Dhruv, Vanshika, if you can explain something. Guys, please make it in like interactive session so that we can interact much and gain like more out of this session. Anyone can unmute themselves and explain just the basic what idea they have.
Ma'am, may I? Ma'am, GST basically refers to goods and services tax. It is a uniform tax and it was introduced in the year 2017. So it's a tax imposed upon the goods and services which we usually in the daily times we receive from our daily from our markets and all.
Right, correct. Anyone else who wants to give some inputs? Okay, I'll just start with what is GST and everything. So as she correctly said that it was introduced in the year 2017. Before that, there was a model GST law. And so we need to understand what was the need of GST, basically why it came into the picture, because we already had so many tax laws, right? So anyone can please tell like what was the need, if you think was there, that the GST should come up? Anyone from the audience can answer, unmute themselves and answer.
Ma'am, earlier as there used to be different taxes like VAT, value added tax imposed by different states. So it used to be different in different states. So in order to bring uniformity, I think it was introduced.
Yes, correct. In order to bring the uniformity, it was introduced. So we'll see. So like as she correctly pointed out, there were so many taxes in India. For example, like if you see the tax structure on the screen, there was first the direct tax, then there was the indirect tax. Under the direct tax, there were three more taxes. That was income tax, wealth tax, and central tax. Sorry, two taxes, income tax and wealth tax. And under the indirect tax, there were two taxes like central tax and state tax. And further, the central tax was also divided like excise tax, service tax, customs. And under state tax, VAT and entry tax, luxury tax, and octroi taxes were there. So there were so many taxes imposed on the businesses of the people, or in the on the goods and services which they were dealing with. In order to bring the GST, like for example, if I would say that, like for example, in state of Maharashtra and in state of Madhya Pradesh, earlier there was a tax imposed within the state, and when the goods or services has to be exchanged between the states, there was another tax imposed. Like for example, a good or services which is traveling from Maharashtra, that the good or the service had to pay the Maharashtra tax first. Then on the transfer of the goods or services from Maharashtra to Madhya Pradesh, there was another tax imposed on the transfer. And after entry into the another state, that is Madhya Pradesh, another state tax of Madhya Pradesh was imposed. So basically, a seller of the goods or services was paying tax on tax, and it was paying the tax like twice or thrice. However, it was making the cascading effect of tax. On tax, the seller was paying so many taxes in order to bring the uniformity, and so that he benefits most out of the goods or services given. That is why GST was introduced, to reduce the taxes on the services and the goods in GST. So earlier there was, like I said, lack of uniformity. In state of Maharashtra, for example, there is a nil tax, then there is an entry tax, and in Gujarat there is 4% tax. Then after that there is, so this was not the uniformity. In Maharashtra there was nil tax, and in Gujarat there was a 4% tax, let's say on sugar. So this was not the uniformity between the states. And moreover, for example, in some cases there was no tax in Gujarat, however, and there was tax imposed in Maharashtra. So there was lack of uniformity between the state taxes. Secondly, there were different points of taxation. Like for example, on manufacturing also the person was paying tax. Then after, on provision of service tax they were paying once the goods being were delivered from the factory to the departmental store, or let's say to the other point of distribution of the stores. So they were paying first the manufacturing tax, then they were paying the transport charges tax, then they were paying the tax when the goods used to reach to the stores, and after that on selling also they were paying the VAT on the goods. all the sale of the goods and the services. There were so many points of taxations involved into the from the manufacturing of the good till the final ending when the good used to go to the seller in the hands of the seller. Moreover, there were multiple registrations were required to be taken from another like different authorities for the registration purposes of the goods or services. Like for example, they had to take the registration from Service Tax Authority, Central Excise Authority. Then luxury tax was different, entertainment tax was different, VAT registration was required to be done, and excise tax was also required to be paid. So there were multiple registrations which were required to be done for the taxation purposes. Moreover, in case of goods and services, there was a dilemma. Like for example, a license was required to be taken in certain cases, like for the software, or licenses were required, for example, in liquor license or somewhere. Right now, also there is a state tax on the liquor. After that, there is a in the sale of food also they have to pay the service charge and everything. And so the customer was confused whether we have to pay the charges at the time of manufacturing or when we are getting the services, or else in some of the cases the customer was paying double tax at the time of manufacturing as well as at the time of availing the services. Is it clear till now? Like, do we have any questions? Okay, I'll just move forward. Then, so because of this, there was overhauling of indirect taxes at the different points of stage, like at the point of manufacturing or at the point of transportation or at the point of delivering the goods or services. The customer or even the seller was paying taxes at different points, or when the goods were being transferred from one state to another, they were paying taxes, and there was not uniformity in the taxation system. In order to reduce this, there was the introduction of the GST system to make the taxation system uniform, and moreover to reduce the taxes and also to reduce the burden of the sellers and buyers for paying the taxes at different stages of the goods and services being manufactured, transferred, or being delivered to the consumers. So the journey of GST starts from the year 2006, when there was an announcement that the GST will come into the picture. After that, in 2009, there was a first discussion paper released by the Empowered Committee for the GST. And in the year 2011, there was the Constitution 115th Amendment Bill introduced for the GST purposes and the uniform taxation system. And then after a year, in the year 2014, the Constitution Amendment Bill was introduced in Lok Sabha. And then after August 2016, the Constitution First Amendment Act was enacted for the taxation system. And September 2016, first GST Council meeting took place. So this was starting from the year 2006 till 2016. All the GST bills and all the formation of the GST law was going on into the picture, because this before the introduction of the GST, all the taxpayers as well as the business owners were very confused, like how much tax we should pay. They were overburdened with the tax system in India. So that is why the taxation, uniform taxation was introduced in the form of GST. Finally, in the year March 2017, GST Council recommended the GST introduction and the enactment of the GST law, including several subcategories of it, that is CGST, Central Goods Service Tax, then SGST, state, and then IGST, that is integrated, and UTGST, that is for the union territories. And after that, in the April 2017, all these tax acts were passed by the parliament, and after that, in May 2017, GST Council recommended the rules for the GST and the implication of the GST Act. In the year 2017 June, except the state of Jammu and Kashmir, the SGST tax was passed, and after that, in 1st July 2017, GST was launched. So starting from the year 2006 till 2016, it took 10 years for the GST Act to be made or enacted, or the law to be passed. Finally, in the year 2017, it was passed from the model law GST to a GST Act. And after that, in July 2017, SGST Act was passed by J&K, CGST, IGST ordinances promulgated and extended GST to J&K as well. And after that, journey is still continuing for the GST in form of GST law, which includes all the IGST, CGST, UTGST, and also CGST. All four comes under that. Further, like what gives the power to GST under the constitutional perspective? So basically, Article 366 12A sub clause gives the power for to the GST, which states that the definition GST means any tax on supply of goods or services or both, except taxes on supply of the alcohol liquor for the normal consumption. So basically, the goods or services tax, which is on the supply or exchange of goods and services, the GST tax is applicable. Under Article 366(12), the goods services includes all the materials, commodities, articles. And under Article 366(26)(a), services are included, including the articles which is other than the goods are basically said to be the service. And then state is included under Article 366(26)(d), which gives reference to the other articles, that is 246A, 268, 269, 269A, and Article 279A, which includes a union territory with legislature as well. So basically, GST law is having unique principles which provides this significant elements of the prior central and state laws, and also inspired by VAT and GST legislation of the other developed countries like Europe, of the other developed areas like European Union, Australia, and along with that, international VAT GST guidelines, OECD, are also followed for the purpose of GST law and the rules and regulations which are being formulated in India till now. Further, now the GST, from where it came, like I already said, the bill was passed on Rajya Sabha on 3rd August 2016 and Lok Sabha on 8th August 2016. It was done by the 101 constitutional amendment on 8th September 2016. The key features of the GST was the concurrent jurisdiction for levy and collection of GST by central and the state taxes. A uniform tax should be involved. That is by the virtue of Article 246A. And after that, the center to levy and collect IGST, that is the integrated goods and services tax on supply in the course of interstate trade and commerce, including imports, under Article 269A. And after that, there was a compensation for loss of revenue to the states for 5 years on recommendation of CGST Council was formed under Section 18 of the Constitution, under Article 18 of the Constitution, that is after the 101 Amendment Act of 2016. And then GST on petroleum, crude oil, high-speed diesel, motor spirit, natural gas, and aviation turbinic fuel to be levied from the later date to recommendation of the GST councils were given. So the GST is not applicable on the liquor or any crude oil or high-speed diesel or motor spirit products as of now, which are under into the recommendations, and they will be soon coming up with the GST on these as well. Now, what does the central taxes included and state taxes included? So central taxes included the excise duty part, excise duty levied under the medicinal part or the Toilet Preparation Act, and then additional duties of the customs were included, service tax was included, surcharges were included, and state taxes basically included the state VAT, central sales tax, purchase tax, entertainment tax, luxury tax, entry tax, and tax on betting and gambling, surcharges, and cess. So both these taxes were combined together to form one single uniform tax. Central and state taxes were abolished, and all these taxes were combined together to form GST, so that there is no overburdening of the taxes on the sellers or on the consumers. Are there any questions till now?
Yes, ma'am. In the definition of GST, alcoholic liquor has been exempted. Why?
Because alcoholic liquor, on the alcoholic liquor till now, there is a state tax imposed. So that is under the recommendation and under the discussion point of view till now going on it. So that is not included under the GST reform.
Okay, ma'am.
Because some states in India are dry states, right? So their alcoholic consumption over there is not there. And some states and some other states impose GST on it on their own, like from their own, like they have the state rules and regulations on the liquor. So this is very critical area which is under into the consideration right now for the discussion. And soon they will be coming up on the any law, rule, or regulation or the uniform tax on the liquor in the future. So is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other question? Okay, then I'll just move forward. So basically, what was the change that pre-GST indirect tax structure had, and now the GST structure has? Earlier, there was, like, for example, levy of central taxes, which included central sales tax, service tax, excise duty, custom duty. So all these were the central taxes structure. That was state levies. Then VAT was levied on the product, and upon it luxury tax. Then upon that purchase tax was imposed. Then entertainment tax, and then entry tax. So there were basically 6 steps of the taxes which were imposed on one single product. And it was due to the central taxes were imposed or in form of the under the certain acts and rules and procedures, and multiple state taxes were imposed, and there were certain administration charges were also imposed. However, after the introduction of the GST structure, there is only the 3 aspects in which the taxes is imposed, that is the CGST, SGST, and IGST. So it has reduced from the 6 slab structure to the only 3 slab structure, wherein they get a single tax in form of GST, and there is a single tax imposed. Uniform law is imposed on all states. Computerized uniform taxation system is there, so that there is transparency ensured, and similar procedures and rules are followed by everyone. So there are no chances of biasness, no chances of corruption taking place, or no chances of the double taxation system going on, or imposition of the extra charges or the fees by the administration right now. Moreover, if we see the taxation structure, like as we saw earlier in the second slide, so the taxation structure included tax structure in form of indirect tax and direct tax. In the direct tax, there was income tax, wealth tax, and in the indirect tax, there was central tax and state tax, and under central tax, there was excise and service tax and customs. And state tax included VAT, entry, luxury tax, and octroi. However, after GST, which is introduced, there is a tax structure has reduced. If you see, the direct taxes are same, that is in form of income tax and wealth tax. However, indirect taxes have reduced from central and state tax to GST and other, that is customs and state levies. So over here, central tax included so many slabs, like in form of 3 slabs, and state tax include 2 slabs. However, after introduction of GST, it has reduced from 5 slabs to only 2 slabs, that is intrastate and interstate. So intrastate includes CGST and SGST. However, interstate includes only IGST. So there is reduction of taxation system in form of the GST law when it is imposed in India. And there was basically one slogan given, that is one nation, one tax on all the categories. As we saw, the earlier manufacturing had a separate taxation, then there was a separate tax on transportation or trading of goods and services. Then after that, there's a taxation on the services when the products reach to the departmental store and its delivery. On the sale of goods and services, there were taxes. However, after the imposition of GST, there is only one tax for all, that is same tax for manufacturing, trading, or services. From starting to the beginning, there is only one uniform tax which is to be paid, and not on each step the taxes are to be paid. So the taxes which are not some under GST in the central taxes is the custom duty. Other is the custom duty in form of anti-dumping duty. Anti-dumping duty is basically when certain goods are being imported from outside, and certain, like for example, a good is being imported from China, and it has to reach to Singapore. However, in between, the goods are being dumped. Some goods are being dumped in India on the port. So there are the certain charges levied on that goods that is known as anti-dumping. So there are certain charges being levied on those goods in India, and charges are to be paid. So GST doesn't cover that as of now, and export duty is not covered under GST. In case of state taxes, road or passenger tax is not included, toll tax is not included. Property tax, electricity duty, stamp duty, and registration fee, all these are not included under the purview of GST. Then what is like outside GST? So outside GST is the alcohol consumption. Power to tax remains with the state for the alcohol. Then 5 petroleum products, that is crude oil, diesel, petrol, natural gas, ATF. All these are being GST Council has to decide on this, and whenever it will be applicable. Then tobacco, part of GST is applicable, but power to levy additional excise duty is with the central government. Then entertainment tax is levied by local bodies, and power to tax remains with the local bodies as of now. So outside the purview of taxes, all these categories are there. After that, if we see the GST Council, which was being made in the year 2017, the chairperson is the Union Finance Minister. Then vice chairperson is to be chosen amongst the ministers of the state governments, and members will be the finance ministers, and then all the ministers of finance, taxations, or each state. Then quorum has to be 50% of the total members which are being appointed. Then states has to be in the weightage of 2/3 and center into the weightage of 1/3 for the passing of any law or any amendment in the GST. So decision has to be taken by 75% of the majority to pass any law. And thereafter, the council house has to make the recommendations on everything which is related to GST, including rules, regulations, or the laws, or any rates are to be revised, or any additional points are to be kept, or any other amendments are to be made into the law or rules or regulations related to the GST. Thereafter, if we see the structure of GST, first is the CGST, then comes the SGST, then UTGST and IGST. So CGST stands for the central GST, which is a tax collected by central government, and it is applicable the supplies within the state. So after that, there is SGST is the second pillar, if you say, that is the state GST, and it is collected by the state government, and it is applicable on state supplies within the state. Then after it is the UTGST, that is for the Union Territory GST collected by the Union Territories, and it is applicable on supplies within the Union Territories without the legislature. And then there is IGST, that is integrated GST. Tax collected is shared between center and the state, and applicable on interstate export-import transactions. So are there any questions till now? Okay, then I'll just move forward. Now, what if you can anyone tell me that if anyone knows about like the GST 2.0 was introduced in 2025, and what was the purpose of introducing this? If anybody knows about it, what it stands for? Anyone, please make the session interactive. Otherwise, it will be very boring for you.
Yeah, hi Tamanna.
Hi.
सो पहले तक क्या था कि जैसे कई टैक्सेस थे, जैसे वैट था, लग्जरी टैक्स था, एंटरटेनमेंट टैक्स था, तो वो सब हटा के जो है सिर्फ एक टैक्स जो है जीएसटी कर दिया, गुड्स एंड सर्विस टैक्स.
Right. So I just want to know why GST 2.0 was introduced. What was the difference between GST and GST 2.0? If anybody knows the difference, can anyone please tell?
Yeah, because पहले तक क्या था, different slabs थे like 5%, 12%, 18 and 28.
Yes.
So now they have kept only 5% and 18%, and the third slab, it's I guess 40% on luxury goods.
Right.
Which was earlier 50%.
Yes, right. And anyone else who can explain like what is GST 2.0? Okay, I'll just move forward. So basically the key features of GST 2.0, that is the rationalization of tax slabs, as he correctly said, that earlier there were so many tax slabs where the GST was imposed on different tax on different slabs. Right now there's a rationalization done for it, so that only uniform certain slabs are there, and there is no confusion, for avoiding the confusion on the levy of GST on different products, different services. So second is simplifying the return filing process. Earlier, the consumers as well as the sellers or the business owners, they had to file the GST process was so cumbersome that they are not aware like which GST return is to be filed. And moreover, so that to simplify that and to make a uniform filing process, this is introduced. And thirdly, there is a greater tax input credit utilization. That is, whenever there is a credit remaining on part of the business owners, so that they can take it in an advanced manner and they can get it more easily on the urgent basis. And now the timeline has been fixed for that, for the input tax credit. Earlier there was no timeline to it. The return used to come into 6 months or the 8 months, or maybe it can go up to 1 year. However, now it has been made mandatory that it has to come within 24 hours or 48 hours of the filing of the return. It depends on the type of return which has been filed by the person. Then it is more technology driven in case, like for example, more of IT uses there, like all the online e-filing portals are made, all the e-filing invoices are to be done, e-way bills are to be e-filed. So it is more technology based and more uh, no paperwork is there, and it is less paperwork is been right now continuing. And after that, lower rates on essential goods and services is being imposed. All the goods, which all the percentage of the GST which was earlier there, as he correctly pointed out, have been reduced, and only only certain goods are taken into the picture for levy of the taxes, and very limited amount of taxes has been imposed so that the consumer is not burdened with the taxation system in India. So these are the key changes which are there in the GST 2.0. For example, let us see, in case of footwear, from 12% it has gone down to 5%. Then in case of fashion industry, earlier it was, the two slabs were there, one was 12% and one was 18%. Now it has gone down to 5%. Then on beauty products it was 18%, now it has gone down to 5%. On consumer electronics, like all the laptops or mobile phones or other electronic products, it was 28%, now it is 18%. On home appliances, it was again 28%, now it is 18%. On the food and grocery items, on some items it was 12%, and some items it was 18%, now it is 5%. So after that, on daily usage items, earlier the GST was applicable at 12% or 18%, which has gone down to 5%. So if you see collectively, only two slabs are remaining right now. That is the 5% slab in case of footwear, fashion, beauty, or the personal care product, or food, groceries, or daily usage items, and 18% in only in two cases, that is home appliances and consumer electronics. So only two slabs are remaining right now, that is 5% and the 18%, and the GST law has tried to reduce the burden of the consumers from imposing higher taxes, and it has come down to 5% in most of the cases. So now the benefits for the consumers. Can anyone tell, like, how will it benefit the consumer, like if the tax has been reduced in India? Can anyone answer from the audience?
The ultimate cost will be decreased.
Yes, the ultimate cost will be decreased, and anything else? Okay, let us see. So benefits for consumer is, as she correctly said, that the cost will be increased. So in case when the cost will be decreased, then there will be the reduced prices of the essential goods and services which the consumer is being consuming on the daily basis. So the people who are not able to afford the very costly products, they can always buy the products if the goods are being produced and being given on the cheaper rates. And then there will be a lower burden of the indirect taxes. Like earlier there were so many taxes which the consumer or the seller had to pay it on different slabs. Now there will be a lesser burden on the consumer for paying the taxes. And then there will be increased purchasing power. As I said, that the person who could not afford certain things, now they can afford certain things and buy according to their needs and the daily needs. Now moreover, it will also increase the transparency in the pricing. Like for example, if a goods are being given at the certain only fixed GST rates, so the people are more aware of it, like only these two slabs are there for applicability of the GST. However, earlier when there were so many different slab rates and different GST applicable, so the people were not aware, because it's not easy to remember all the slab rates on all the categories. So they were not able to cross check like which GST percentage is been applicable on which product. Right now the categories have been reduced and the slab rates have been only being categorized into two parts, that is 5% and the 18% GST rate. So it's easier for them to verify their bills or any other receipts on which the GST has been paid, that how much GST has been applied, and it is easy to remember the GST applicable rates. So then what is the mostly they will gain from the GST 2.0? It is basically for the small businesses and the retailers, because it provides the filing process easily. Filing process is very convenient, and automated compliance checks are there. Manual errors are reduced. And then after that, it is also have given the rise to penalties which are being imposed. And moreover, it is in the integrated GST billing, small business owners can easily create GST complaint invoices, keep track of sales, and reconcile taxes without having to hire specialized individuals for making their taxation records or filing of the taxation any returns. So it is more of basically more computerized system is being introduced for the small businesses and retailers. Then after that, the startups, e-commerce sellers are being also benefited from the GST 2.0, because as I said that they have the e-way bills and the e-way invoices. Now they can put all the e-way invoicing and the bills on the computer itself before proceeding to the filing of the GST returns. And for example, like for the sellers of the e-commerce, this means that more seamless operations can be done, more cash flow will be there, as there are timelines set up for the input tax credit, so they can get the easily refund of their uh, of their of their money, and that money can go into the business circle, and easy cash flow is there. Then lower compliance will be there. Moreover, more technology based GST has been imposed on the items, so the startups will be easily able to bring that technology into the use, and more returns will be filed on the daily basis, and with easy timelines and easy bills can be given to the customers automatically. Moreover, it can tick mark on the GST changes in the GST, which means the startup can grow more growing than a paperwork, rather than the focusing on the managing paperwork. It has also benefited exporters and service providers in the form that the procedure for the refund and from the compliance issues, which help the access to working capital for more quickly. Then service providers, consultants, logistic providers benefit from the auto-calculated tax liabilities and automated tax filing system. As I said, that automatically they can file their invoicing and the e-way bills on the portal, and it will automatically calculate the tax and the liabilities which are outstanding on part of the service providers or the exporters. So there is no need to hire a specialized individual for filing the return or filing any GST records. Moreover, a portal has introduced a system which would keep the records of the track of the invoices which are being filed. It will also keep a track of the GST credits and refunds which will be filed, accounting books or any other records which are to be filed will be kept in the portal itself, which the service provider from time to time can recheck it. And moreover, in case he wants to check the invoices or the records after, let's say, 5 years, so the portal would have that records, and he can always go online and check those after 5 years also. So moreover, it will be error-free system. It is the error-free system, as the tax is being automatically calculated without any errors. Then for the Indian businesses, the benefits are like reducing the compliance burden. Then faster refunds are processed in a timeline manner. Then digital integration is there, like for example, in the form of GST billing softwares are being introduced. Then increased transparency is there because everything is online. And then cash flow management is there because input tax credit would be coming on time in a timeline process, in a time bound process manner. And after that, the benefits for the government, how it would benefit the government. So basically, if a person is filing a GST return online and there is no paperwork, so it reduces the chances of being corruption or being biased in the paperwork, or the additional charge which has been demanded from the individuals for filing the returns and everything. So it will help the government to see the every paper online in a very time bound process, and also with the reduced compliances. So moreover, the broader tax basis will be there with the government to be imposed, and increased revenue collection. The more people will be filing their tax returns online, and government will benefit out of it by collecting more tax from it. Then it will also boost the economic growth of India. Thereafter, the role of technology, as I said, in the GST right now, the technology is playing a very big role because everything is being made online, and there are e-way invoices, e-way bills introduced, which are to be filed online. So basically, a modern GST software has been introduced for the GST 2.0, accessible to all the small and medium enterprises, which provides the option of auto calculation and error alerts in the creation of the invoices, or businesses can save their hours by filing online only, because there's an automatic calculation of the invoices and no errors will be there in filing of the returns or the invoices. Moreover, markbook software has been introduced. That is, for example, in that software, end-to-end solution for billing of the retailers of the GST compliant e-commerce sellers is provided to pay the service providers, and bookkeeping program is also been introduced, that is to ensure that invoices generated is complete and audit is ready. In this program, it is basically when you put an invoice, so it shows that the invoice is correct or not. In case the invoice is incorrect, it will not proceed further. The software will not take the invoice further. It will stop the processing of the invoice over there itself. And in case it is complete, it will take you to the next step, and thereafter a audit will be done on the portal itself. Through the portal itself, you don't have to go through the audit on your own. So that is a basic role that the technology is playing in the GST 2.0. Thereafter, moreover, integration with accounting software is there in form of the technology which is being done, which provides the functions of accounting and GST automation, and enabling the entrepreneurs to keep up to the date and manage books easily, eliminate human errors, stay on track with deadlines. Such integration proves to be highly useful for exporters and service providers who interact with multiple clients and clients from different countries, and transact numerous transactions, and tax will be regularly updated. So this accounting software also helps to provide edge to the service suppliers as well as to the individuals who file their income tax liabilities or the GST liabilities online. It is also applicable on the income tax purposes, where they provide the function of accounting and GST automation calculation, which enables all the service providers to do their accounts on the portal itself and do the checks and balances in their accounts. They can tally their liabilities and the GST imposed on each supply of goods and services on the online portal itself. So mostly the industries which benefit out of the GST 2.0 is the retail and kirana stores. Second is the e-commerce platforms, then who are doing the online selling and logistics. Third is the export and import businesses, like they are getting benefit out of the refund of the GST in a faster manner, and efficient use of the report generated is being also done by them. Then service providers like consultants, IT professionals, lawyers, freelancers can also take help of the automated tax filing. And then there is logistics, transport companies. The smooth exercise in the form of e-way bill generation or tax tracking is there in the GST reform. Thereafter, the practical aspects you must develop for. Are there any questions right now? Okay, then I'll just move forward. So the practical aspects you should develop if you have to go into the GST field is that you should know how to file the returns quickly, like how the GST returns are to be filed. Secondly, the input tax credit reconciliation should be known to you, like how to file the input tax credit and how to get refund of the input tax credit. Third is e-invoicing and e-way bills filing should be known to you, how to file the e-way bills and e-invoicing on the portal itself. Then GST rate and HSN lookup. So GST rate is basically how much GST is been applicable on the different products, and all the products and services have a list that is in form of HSN codes or the SAC codes. That is, each product is being given a HSN code, and all the services given is the SAC code, from where you can find out in the form of only the codes are being explained. These codes will be applicable, like for example 5% GST is applicable on this code. So you need to look up the HSN list, that which code is being referred to which type of goods or the services is there. So that should be known to you. Then GST audit and assessment scrutiny should be known. Excel for making the all the liabilities and all the e-invoicing, keeping a track of e-invoicing and e-way bills. Then Tally Prime to tally all the assets and the liability sides, or the purchase or the selling sides of the products and the goods and services. Then reverse charge mechanism should be known to you. Then GST drafting, like in case you have to file any notice or litigation part of it, then GST drafting should be known to you. What all acts, laws and rules, procedures are applicable on GST should be known. Then GST portal access. This is the foremost thing that should be known, that is how to use the GST portal and how to file the returns in it, then how to draft the petitions or any legal notices on part of the GST. Then moreover, e-invoicing, all these things should be known to you before, in case of a practical skills you should develop if you have to go into the GST field. Thereafter, we can see the career opportunities in GST and tax law. First is that you can be a GST practitioner. Then you can also be a tax consultant or the advisor for the GST. Then tax manager can be in-house or corporate. There are certain firms who keeps the tax manager as a separate person other than the lawyers or the practicing advocates, who just manages the tax purpose of the law firm itself. So he can be a tax manager. And then GST auditor, who will audit all the GST returns and the accounts of the company or the businesses. Then GST litigation specialist or the tax lawyer. A GST litigation specialist can be a person who would file a case or who would draft a petition and appear in courts. And GST appellate tribunals have now been introduced in India. They can appear there, and tax lawyers can handle the tax matters. Thereafter, the government tax officer, different government departments have a different tax officers who manages all the grievances related to the tax and also the imposition of tax or the refund of the tax. Then transfer pricing expert, then tax policy analyst. Any tax policy analyst is being appointed by a government as well as by the private companies, who from time to time keep on review the tax policies on behalf of the organization or the company or the government, for which they have to keep on referring to the new laws which are coming into the place related to the GST. Then there is a trainer or an educator, like for example, in college, a tax faculty, you can be appointed as a tax faculty, or in form of trainer, you can join a certain career oriented programs or any certain, for example, coaching centers for giving training related to GST. Then independent tax consultant, you can always work as an independent tax consultant, where you can give advice or give any form of tax related issues you can deal with. So these are the career opportunities where you can follow for the GST and the tax law. So after that, basically the conclusion which we come out of from the GST, then GST 2.0, is that first, that it was introduced for the making the system uniform with the taxation system. And GST 2.0 is being introduced basically for the startups or the service providers, so that they can benefit most out of it. And there is more use of technology and there is less paperwork in India. So this is basically a conclusion of the GST 2.0, that more startups, exporters, service providers would benefit most out of it, and there is less taxation being introduced and less confusion in the GST slab rates which are there. And technology, there is more use of technology, so that it is hassle free and refunds are timely generated and people don't have to wait for their refunds, and there is more cash flow of the tax into the businesses. So are there any questions? Thank you.
Ma'am, as the tax slabs have been reduced, like there are only 5% and 18%. So,
Yes.
don't you think that the revenue pool of the government will be affected by it?
No, the revenue will not be affected, because earlier, for example, for example, there were different taxation slabs, right? So people used to avoid, they never used to pay their taxes on time. They used to avoid because the taxation system was so confused under GST itself. Sometimes if, for example, a 12% GST rate was imposed, but people or the businesses, they were only paying 5%, because nobody was going to check like how much rate was imposed on it. There was so much confusion in the products or in the codes itself. That is why the government was not benefiting out of it. They were not able to keep all the categories under check. Right now, that is why they have come up with only the two slabs to avoid the confusion, and so that there is a correct checks and balances on the codes and the categories. For example, if I would say the category of healthcare. So now they have, for example, given a fixed rate of healthcare, that is 5%. So before that, under healthcare, there were subcategories. Like on medical equipment, there will be 5%. On then medical Surgical equipment, there will be 12%. Medical, for example, medical, if you say medicines, it will be 18%. So there were so many subcategories that the government as well as the individuals, they were so confused like how much tax to be paid. And certain individuals were avoiding the payment of the taxation due to that. And there was no transparency also, and they were delaying the tax. And the government was getting less tax out of the collection was less. Right now, if the government has imposed only a direct rate on the main category itself, so they are getting more returns being filed, and there is less confusion on part of the government. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other question?
Ma'am, how can we learn GST filing for our personal use, ma'am?
Sorry, can you repeat? Your voice was breaking.
Ma'am, how can we learn GST filing for our personal usage, ma'am?
For personal use?
Personal usage, ma'am. For business or something.
Yeah. If you go to the portal itself, so it will take you to through the steps, and that you will develop with time. Like if you go to the portal itself, you have to fill in your personal details first. Then you have to upload certain invoices and e-way bills related to your business, like where whatever the category is been shown, you have to select the certain categories, and thereafter, stepwise, you have to upload your documents and everything. And it's a digital process. Moreover, like I said, it's an automated system right now. All the checks and balances, all the tally work is being done on the portal itself. If your invoices are not matching the e-way bills, or it is not matching the category or the product which for the e-way bills are being filed, it will show error and it will not proceed to the next step. So you have to follow the steps online and keep on filling, keep on filling the procedure online which is being given.
Do we have to receive any license, ma'am, from government?
See, for the startup, or there are certain categories which are being defined for this. Like for the startups, as I said, and for the service providers, you can file your GST online yourself. Otherwise, for certain areas in which they are like a private limited company, or let's say a certain public limited companies, obviously then a CA or a CS has to file your return, because certain documents will be requiring the stamp of C and CS. Certain compliances are to be made on their part, so that you can't do yourself. But in case you have a startup, or you're practicing lawyer, or basically a practitioner, then you can always file your GST on your own. Is it clear? Anyone else? Any other question?
I have a question. What is the difference when a CA works for GST and a advocate works for GST?
Okay. So basically, there is a difference in on part of the compliance part. Like advocate can't authorize, or he can't authenticate certain documents which are to be filed in relation to GST. For example, if you would say balance sheet of a company, right? So an advocate cannot put a stamp or the signature of his own and authenticate your balance sheet of a company. Only a CA or a CS can authenticate a balance sheet and can do a audit of a balance sheet. So that is the main difference between advocate and CS in case of a GST. Only an advocate can help by filing your GST litigation or GST notice, for serving a GST notice to any firm or other party or any disputed area. Moreover, advocate can advise you like how your returns can be filed. He can give you advice like what compliances are to be made, but he cannot authenticate your documents. Moreover, CS can authenticate your documents, can do the audit of the balance sheets or any other reports, like they are with the valuation report is there of the company when in cases of merger and acquisition, if the company is going for mergers and acquisitions. So there are so many documents which can be authenticated by only CA. So are there any, is it clear, Aditi?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Okay. Anyone else? Is there any question? Any question related to career, or any question related to the practical aspect, you can just ask. Vanshika, any question? Ashwant, any question?
Participants, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, I think there is no question more.
Okay, so I'll just stop here. You can proceed with it.
We will get the PPT. Ma'am, can you please provide us a PPT so we can share with our student?
Yeah, I'll just see to it. Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And ma'am, thank you so much for wonderful session. And
Thank
thank you for all participants to joining us.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and listening to the session patiently. If you have any questions in case of any relation to the tax or GST thing, you can always email me, or I'll just sort of drop my email address in the chat box itself. And if you have any other questions related to any career thing, you can just email me regarding that. Thank you for being a very good audience, and thanks.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, participants. You may leave the meeting, participants.